It's not a beautiful place. It's not like I really want to go spend my day in Lonsdale, because if you are just driving through, it is a low-income, poor, scary-looking neighborhood. But I would say that's just like a facade from the outside. Really, it's really loving and wonderful.
The triplets! Ruby's drinking a Mountain Dew. Hey, Jose. Hey, does your mom want to come build hers? I have screws. We're ready. All right, meet us at Thrive. Hey,
The Lonsdale Community Garden is an area in Lonsdale that was a vacant lot that we acquired through the city and decided to put a bunch of raised beds on the property. I think it's really cool because it brings people together who normally wouldn't be in the same place.
Lonsdale has one of the clearest examples of racial segregation and division in the city of Knoxville. And so you have in Lonsdale a combination of people who have immigrated here legally, refugee programs, people who have immigrated here illegally, and then the historic families of Lonsdale who've been here for a long time, and those are primarily white families and African American families. And the racial line of segregation, when it was just black and white communities, was Stonewall. And to this day, Guatemalans, none of whom were here during segregation, legal segregation, showed up to de facto segregation, and it was very difficult to get them to cross the line, and it's not a neighborhood of shared culture. There's language barriers, that's vis-a-vis the Africans and others, vis-a-vis the Guatemalans and others. But aside from the language barriers, there's historic division that has to do with race.
I heard about Lonsdale through my church when I was in high school, and they were doing a vacation Bible school, so I showed up to vacation Bible school, and I met this sweet little family, and I was like, these kids are really cool. I want to start hanging out with them. They lived in Lonsdale, so then I was like, hey, this is a really cool place. Got to know the neighbors, got to know some of the youth organizations, and then I came to Thrive and started volunteering here, and now I work here.
Thrive is working to create relationships for children in spiritual, emotional, academic, and physical poverty with adults who've been blessed with abundance in those same areas. And so overall, what we're hoping to see, and we have to have patience in this kind of work, that 20 years from now, these children will be leaders in the community. They'll be leaders who are in a place of wholeness.
I have thought a lot, like, what am I going to do next? Like, should I go to graduate school? Should I, travel? Should I move on? And I've really felt God just saying to me, like, no, like, you have deep roots here. You need to stay in this place. It's not like a cool place to be, but when the Lord says, like, this is what you need to do, you just have to do it. So there's 16 raised garden beds, and different family members throughout the community own them. They actually came here, got the wood, built the beds, they put in all the manual labor, and we call it sweat equity, so they have a little bit of investment in their bed. They come, they build their bed, and then they filled it with soil, and they are 100% responsible for that one little area. So it's run by Thrive, but it's kind of owned by the community. So there's some Burundian families, there's some Guatemalan families, there's some African American families, and they're all in the same area, farming and tending to the same land, and then taking home crops for their family and feeding their family, hopefully healthy and delicious fruits and vegetables, which they normally wouldn't be getting or buying at the store.
The community garden is a place where people can have their own buy-in, but it's also part of recognizing the assets that are already in this community. It is impossible to tell the story of Lonsdale without talking and addressing violence and poverty, etc. But one of the really cool things about this neighborhood is that it already has more urban gardens than any other part of Knoxville. And the reason for that, in part, is that Guatemalans and Burundians, as a group, their largest trade in where they're from was that they were in farming.
Pero ahorita es de la landscape. Mucho. sí, mucho
¿Por qué?
me gusta. Porque me encantan así, ¿cómo se llama? Las flores, todo eso, de la naturaleza, pues, todo, me gusta todo. Aquí hay muchas oportunidades en mi pueblo. Sí hay oportunidades en mi pueblo, pero no hay mucho trabajo. Y todo se puede hacer, pero si no hay dinero no se puede. Ahí hay mucha pobreza. Y gracias a Dios que me dio esta oportunidad de estar aquí. Y estoy superando y estoy agradecido a Dios.
They add a lot to the society, they add a lot to this neighborhood, and they're really wonderful, unique, just really, really cool families. Like from an outsider perspective, you'd probably think like, oh, those people are here illegally, like they need to go back, this is not okay, like I'm not okay with this. But once you're on the inside, it's like, this is my friend, like they have family members, like I love them, they have loved ones. It's really hard to see when people do get deported, the way that it impacts their family. I don't know, it's definitely a fine line, like, yeah.
All right, these we can dig a little bit deeper than the last one.
So I was really hands-on in the beginning of, building the beds, helping them fill them with soil, all of that. But now I kind of step back and say, this is yours. You're 100% in charge of this. I want you to steward this well. You need to weed it, you need to water it, you need to plant it.
Having a community garden means that Burundian families and white families and African American families, Guatemalan families will all be working together. And we've already seen that happen with clearing the land, with putting down the mulch and then the other areas to get it ready.
It's like, hey, I grew peppers, you grew tomatoes. You take some of my tomatoes, I'll take some of your peppers. Hey, how are your kids? How's your family? It's a really cool, I don't know, just wait for them to commune.
Yes, thank you. Just in time.
Beautiful. High five.
Están dando oportunidades a mis paisanos y a los morenos, todos pues tienen así su pequeño jardincito, ahí está bien, porque así para que se conoce más, así para que haya apoyo y todo. Lo felicito al que pensó en eso.